This is a collection of information you will likely never need. It's trivial, specific, and incredibly precise. The kind of knowledge that feels important for a moment and then slips away. There is no urgency here, no big revelations, just quiet, stubborn facts that have no point. We will simply begin with the first one. The border between the Netherlands and Belgium is marked by a series of small metal crosses. These are not grand monuments. They are quiet, unassuming markers placed along the ground, each one denoting a precise point where one nation ends and another begins. You could walk past them without noticing, and in doing so, cross an international boundary without ceremony. There is a specific point along the border between the United States and Canada where the line is famously not straight. The boundary was intended to follow the 49th parallel, but an old surveyor's mistake created a small, jagged indentation. This small discrepancy remains on the map today, a quiet echo of human error preserved in the geography of two nations. The country with the most neighbors is China, sharing a land border with 14 distinct nations. That means China has more bordering countries than any other place on Earth. These 14 neighbors range from large nations to much smaller ones, creating a vast web of shared boundaries across the continent. There is a town in Spain that is entirely surrounded by France. The town is called Livia, and it is a Spanish exclave situated within French territory. This unusual arrangement dates back to a treaty from the 1600s. The treaty ceded villages to France, but specifically excluded Livia because it held a particular status. The shortest land border in the world is a mere 150 meters long, and it lies between Botswana and Zambia. This tiny boundary is a small strip of land where two countries barely touch. It exists only because a bridge connects the two nations, spanning the Zambezi River, and the border runs along the middle of that crossing. The geographical center of North America is a small town in North Dakota called Rugby. A stone monument marks the spot. It is a quiet piece of trivia, a specific point on the map that claims to be the heart of an entire continent. There is a piece of land between Egypt and Sudan that is unclaimed by either country. It is called Bir Tawil. Neither nation wants it. It is one of the few land areas in the world not governed by any country, simply because both Egypt and Sudan prefer the other border to the east. The world's largest island that is not a continent is Greenland. It is covered almost entirely by a massive ice sheet. Despite its size, its population is very small, and most of its land lies beneath the weight of ice that is thousands of years old. The state of Alaska is the only U.S. state that extends into the eastern hemisphere. This is due to the Aleutian Islands, which cross the 180th meridian. In a sense, Alaska stretches so far west that it reaches into the other half of the globe. The border between Poland and Ukraine was officially established in a 1951 treaty. Before that, the line had shifted many times due to conflict and negotiation. The 1951 agreement fixed the boundary as it is today, a relatively recent settlement in the long history of the region. There is a point in the Pacific Ocean called Point Nemo, which is the farthest place from any land. It is an oceanic pole of inaccessibility. The nearest humans are often the astronauts aboard the International Space Station, who are closer to it than anyone on the ground. The country of Lesotho is an enclave, completely surrounded by South Africa. It is one of the few nations on Earth that is entirely landlocked within another single country. To leave Lesotho, you must cross into South Africa. The border between Sweden and Norway is a straight line across a mountainous region. It was established in 1905 and follows the watershed. The line separates the two countries along the spine of the Scandinavian mountains. The city of Baarle-Hertog is a Belgian municipality with enclaves inside the Netherlands. The border between the two countries runs directly through the town. There are buildings where the front door is in the Netherlands and the back door is in Belgium, a curious outcome of medieval land divisions. There is a point where the borders of Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands meet. This is a tripoint, a specific geographical marker where three nations converge. It is located on the Valserberg Hill, and a small monument commemorates the spot. The border between the United States and Canada is the longest undefended border in the world. It stretches over 8,800 kilometers across land and water. Despite its length and the close relationship between the two countries, it is heavily monitored. The Chukchi Sea separates Russia and the United States by only about 80 kilometers at the Bering Strait. The narrowest point is just over 80 kilometers of open water. This is where the Diomede Islands sit, one belonging to Russia and the other to the United States, less than 4 kilometers apart. The island of Cyprus is divided by a buffer zone controlled by the United Nations. This zone is a demilitarized area that separates the Greek Cypriot south from the Turkish Cypriot north. It cuts across the island, including a no-man's land that passes through the capital city. The border between India and Bangladesh is incredibly complex, with many enclaves. These are pieces of one country entirely surrounded by the other. In 2015, they finally resolved most of these enclaves, simplifying the border on a map that had been remarkably intricate for decades. There is a point in the desert where the borders of Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and Oman meet. This remote tri-point is in the Rub al-Khali, the empty quarter. It is a vast, uninhabited stretch of sand, a place where the lines on the map are more theoretical than physical. The border between Argentina and Chile follows the line of the Andes Mountains. This arrangement means the countries are separated by the highest peaks, and the border is roughly defined by the continental divide. The result is a long, winding boundary along the spine of South America. The state of Arizona is one of the few U.S. states with a border that is entirely a straight line. Its southern border with Mexico follows a specific parallel of latitude. This is a consequence of the Gadsden Purchase and the earlier Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The border between Nepal and China runs along the summit of the Himalayas. This includes the peak of Mount Everest, the world's highest mountain. The boundary sits exactly at the top of the mountain, making it a natural, if extremely high, dividing line. There is a small area of land between Greece and North Macedonia that was the subject of a naming dispute for decades. The country was known internationally as the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia until 2019. The dispute was over the use of the name and its historical implications. The border between Germany and Poland is known as the Oder-Neisse line. It follows the rivers Oder and Lusatian-Neisse. This boundary was established after World War II and has been the official border since a treaty in 1990. The city of Nicosia is the only divided capital city in the world. A buffer zone runs through its center, separating it into northern and southern parts. This division is a physical reminder of the larger political and ethnic divisions on the island of Cyprus. The border between the United States and Mexico is one of the most frequently crossed international borders in the world. Millions of people and vehicles cross it legally each year. It is a busy, dynamic boundary that connects two very different economies and cultures. There is a specific point where the borders of the U.S. states of Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona meet. This is the Four Corners, the only place in the United States where four states intersect at a single point. It is marked by a monument where people can stand in four states at once. The border between Kenya and Tanzania runs through Lake Victoria, the largest lake in Africa. The line is not physically marked on the water, but it is an official division. This means a large body of fresh water is shared by the two countries. There is a small island in the river between Finland and Sweden that is technically divided. The border is marked on the ground, and the island is shared. It is a quiet, peaceful division in a remote part of the world. The border between Scotland and England is known as the Anglo-Scottish border. It is roughly 96 miles long. This line has existed as a boundary between two distinct nations since the Treaty of York in 1237, making it one of the oldest continuous borders in Europe. There is a specific point in the Pacific Ocean that is exactly halfway between the equator and the South Pole. This is the center of the ocean. It is a purely geographical designation with no land nearby. The border between Afghanistan and Pakistan is called the Durand Line. It is approximately 2,640 kilometers long. This line was established in 1893 and has been a point of contention between the two countries ever since. We will let that rest now. The space between your eyebrows is called the glabella. It is that small, flat area just above your nose and between your brow ridges. It is a specific part of the human face, a quiet piece of anatomy that most people never think to name. The study of kissing is specifically known as philematology. It is a niche field that looks at the practice and significance of kissing across different cultures. Researchers in this area study everything from its biological purpose to its social meaning. The word petrichor describes the smell of rain on dry ground. It is that earthy, pleasant scent that rises when a rain shower first hits a dusty surface. The term was coined by two scientists in the 1960s to name a sensation that everyone recognizes but few have a word for. The plastic or metal tip on the end of a shoelace is called an aglet. This small tube keeps the lace from fraying and makes it easier to thread through the eyelets. Without the aglet, laces would quickly unravel, and the act of tying shoes would be far more difficult. The small bumps on a raspberry are each a tiny fruit called a druplet. Every raspberry is actually a cluster of many tiny individual fruits. Each druplet contains its own seed, making the whole berry a collection of miniature fruits held together in a single structure. The phenomenon of seeing faces in inanimate objects has a specific name, pareidolia. It is the tendency of the human brain to perceive familiar patterns, particularly faces, in random stimuli. This is why people see a face in a cloud or in the front of a car, a common and completely harmless quirk of perception. The armrest area between two airplane seats has a specific designation. The middle seat passenger is generally considered to have rights to both armrests. This is a practical arrangement to compensate for the lack of space and the discomfort of sitting between two other people. The term for a person who collects books is a bibliophile. It is a straightforward word for a love of books. However, the term for a collector of matchboxes is a philuminist, a far less common word for a very specific hobby. The word used to describe the day after a holiday is often localized. In the United States, the day after Thanksgiving is informally known as Black Friday. In other countries, the day after a major holiday might have a different name or no specific name at all. The term for the rumbling sound in your stomach is borborygmus. It is the noise made by the movement of gas and fluid in the intestines. It is a completely normal bodily function that happens all the time, though it is often more noticeable when you are hungry. The small crease in your upper lip below your nose is called the philtrum. It is the vertical groove that runs down to the center of the lip. In humans, it is a vestigial reminder of how the face forms in the womb. The word somnambulism is the clinical term for sleepwalking. It is a sleep disorder where a person gets up and moves around while still asleep. Sleepwalking is more common in children and usually resolves on its own by adolescence. The opposite of a palindrome is a simordnilap. This is a word that becomes a different word when spelled backwards. For example, stressed becomes desserts when reversed. It is a quiet linguistic twist, a word that contains its own mirror image. The specific name for the fear of the number 13 is triskaidekaphobia. It is a common and well-known phobia. The fear is so widespread that many buildings skip the 13th floor or label it differently. The term callipygian is used to describe having well-shaped buttocks. It is an obscure and formal word for a very specific and subjective aesthetic quality. It is not a common word in everyday conversation, but it exists in the dictionary. The space between your toes has a name, though it is rarely used. It is simply referred to as the interdigital space. It is a functional gap that allows for movement and flexibility. The study of the origin of words is called etymology. It is the tracing of a word's history from its earliest known use to its current form. Etymologists look at how words change meaning and sound as they move across languages and through time. The specific term for a person who studies flags is a vexillologist. This is a niche field within history and design. It is a quiet, specialized area of knowledge that looks at the symbols, colors, and patterns of flags from around the world. The word defenestration is the act of throwing someone or something out of a window. It is a very specific action with its own very specific word. This term was famously used to describe a historical event in Prague. The small, fleshy bump at the back of your throat is called the uvula. It is the teardrop-shaped tissue that hangs down at the back of the mouth. It plays a role in speaking and swallowing. The term for a person who collects and studies postage stamps is a philatelist. Stamp collecting is a popular and long-standing hobby. It is a precise and detail-oriented pursuit that requires a knowledge of printing, history, and geography. The word brontide is used to describe the low, rumbling sound of distant thunder. It is a soft, rolling noise. It is the name for that far-off, barely audible thunder that you sometimes hear on a summer evening. The part of your eye that gives it its color is called the iris. It is the circular structure that surrounds the pupil. The iris controls the amount of light entering the eye. The study of the classification of living things is taxonomy. It is a systematic approach to naming and organizing all forms of life. Taxonomists create the categories that help scientists understand the relationships between different species. The word apricity is a rare term, meaning the warmth of the sun in winter. It is a specific feeling of comfort on a cold day. It is a quiet, pleasant word for a quiet, pleasant sensation. The outer edge of a coin is called the rim. It is the raised border that runs around the circumference of the coin. The rim helps protect the coin's design from wear and tear. The term for the fear of open spaces is agoraphobia. It is an anxiety disorder. People with agoraphobia often avoid situations where they feel trapped or helpless. The specific name for the part of a guitar that holds the strings is the headstock. It is the topmost part of the instrument. It also holds the tuning pegs. The word mellifluous is used to describe a sound that is sweet and smooth. It is often used for voices or music. It comes from the Latin words for honey and flow. The small amount of liquid that collects in the corner of your eye is called rheum. It is commonly known as sleep or crusty eye. It is a natural combination of mucus, skin cells, and oils. The study of household pests is called urban entomology. It is a specific branch of biology. It focuses on insects and other arthropods that live in human environments. The term sonder is the realization that every person has a life as vivid and complex as your own. It is a relatively new word, coined by a writer on a website. It describes a profound and quiet moment of empathy. We will let that rest now. The sandwich is named after an 18th century English nobleman, the 4th Earl of Sandwich. The story goes that he was a keen gambler who did not want to leave the card table for a meal. He asked for meat placed between 2 slices of bread, and the practice became associated with his title. The invention of the potato chip is attributed to a disgruntled chef in New York in 1853. A customer at a restaurant in Saratoga Springs kept sending his fried potatoes back, complaining they were too thick and soggy. The chef, George Crumb, sliced them paper-thin and fried them until crisp, hoping to annoy the diner, but the customer loved them. A specific type of cheese, such as the French mimolette, is home to a distinct microscopic mite that is considered safe to eat. These tiny cheese mites are deliberately introduced during the aging process. They burrow into the rind, giving it a pitted, dusty appearance and contributing to the cheese's unique flavor. The color of a standard chicken egg is determined by the breed of the hen. A hen with white feathers and white earlobes will typically lay white eggs. A hen with red feathers and red earlobes will usually lay brown eggs. The color of the shell has no effect on the taste or nutritional value of the egg inside. The first ready-to-eat breakfast cereal was created as a health remedy in the 19th century. It was developed in a sanitarium in Michigan. The makers believed that a bland, vegetarian diet would calm the digestive system and reduce the desires that they thought caused illness. The common carrot was originally cultivated for its leaves and seeds, not its root. Early carrots were thin, forked, and woody, and they were grown for their aromatic foliage. It was only through centuries of selective breeding that the large, sweet orange root we eat today was developed. The 100-year egg is actually preserved for only a few months, not a century. It is a Chinese delicacy made by coating duck or chicken eggs in a mixture of clay, ash, salt, quicklime, and rice hulls. Over several weeks or months, the chemical reaction transforms the yolk into a dark green or gray color and develops a complex, earthy flavor. There is a specific fruit, the Buddha's hand, that was used as a natural sweetener in ancient times but is now rare. It is a fragrant citron with finger-like segments. Today, it is more often used for its zest or as a perfume than as a sweetener. The shape of rotini pasta is designed to hold a specific amount of sauce. The helical, spiral shape creates grooves and ridges. These tiny crevices are perfect for catching and holding onto the sauce, ensuring each bite is well coated. The original recipe for Coca-Cola contained a trace amount of an ingredient now used in paint. That ingredient was caffeine-free coca leaf extract. It also contained cola nut extract, which is where the name comes from, but the recipe has been altered significantly over the years. The pineapple was once so rare and expensive that people would rent them to display as a status symbol at dinner parties. In 18th century Europe, they were a symbol of wealth and hospitality. The fruit was so coveted that it was often rented out by the week for display only, not consumption. The Caesar salad was invented in Tijuana, Mexico, by an Italian immigrant named Caesar Cardini in 1924. The story goes that a 4th of July rush depleted his kitchen supplies, so he improvised with what he had. He tossed romaine lettuce with garlic, croutons, Parmesan cheese, a coddled egg, and Worcestershire sauce. The name butter comes from the Greek word for cow cheese, but its origin is in the Latin butyrum. It is a simple word for a simple product. Butter has been made for thousands of years, originally by churning milk in a skin bag. The first chocolate bar was not solid as we know it today. Early chocolate was a drink, often flavored with chili and spices. The first solid chocolate bar was produced in the 19th century with the invention of the cocoa press, which separated cocoa solids from cocoa butter. The tomato was once considered poisonous in Europe. This was because the plant was part of the nightshade family, and wealthy people who ate off pewter plates had the acidity of the tomato leach lead from the plate. It was the lead poisoning, not the tomato itself, that made them ill. The fortune cookie is not Chinese in origin. It was invented in California in the early 20th century. The modern cookie likely has its roots in Japanese tsujiura senbei, which were baked with a small strip of paper inside. The potato was the first vegetable to be grown in space. NASA cultivated a potato plant on a space shuttle mission in 1995. The goal was to study the effects of microgravity on plant growth, and the potato was chosen for its hardiness and nutritional value. The name ketchup comes from a Southeast Asian word for a type of sauce, likely the Chinese ketchup. This original sauce was a fermented fish brine, not a tomato-based condiment. It was the British who later added tomatoes to the recipe. A specific type of noodle, the instant ramen, was invented in Japan in 1958 by Momofuku Ando. He created it to provide a quick and easy meal in post-war Japan. He realized that flash-frying noodles made them shelf-stable and quick to cook. The first frozen food was not a vegetable, but a fish. Clarence Birdseye, an American scientist, developed a method for quick freezing fish in the 1920s. He noticed that fish frozen quickly in the Arctic had a better texture than those frozen slowly. The banana is technically a berry. This is because it is produced by a single flower with one ovary. The small black seeds inside a banana are the actual seeds of the berry. The name pizza is thought to come from the Latin word pinza, meaning flatbread. The modern pizza, with tomato sauce and cheese, originated in Naples in the late 18th century. It was a food of the poor before becoming a global phenomenon. The first cereal box prize was introduced in the 1930s. It was a way to attract children to a healthy breakfast. The first prizes were simple items like rings or small toys. The word bacon comes from the old High German word backo, meaning back. It refers to the cut of meat. Bacon has been a popular food for centuries due to its flavor and preservability. The carrot cake was not a dessert originally. It was a sweet bread or pudding made during the Middle Ages when sugar was expensive. Carrots were used as a natural sweetener. The first energy drink was created in the 1960s. It was designed to help athletes recover. The original formula was based on an earlier drink that was given to patients in hospitals. The strawberry is not a true berry, but an aggregate accessory fruit. The fleshy part is not the ovary, but the receptacle that holds the ovaries. The small, tiny seeds on the outside are the actual fruit. The first breakfast cereal was called granula. It was made from baked whole grain dough that was crumbled and baked again. It was a hard, bland food that had to be soaked in milk before eating. The tomato is technically a fruit, but in 1893, the U.S. Supreme Court declared it a vegetable for tariff purposes. This decision was based on the common culinary usage of the tomato in savory dishes. It remains a legal classification to this day. A specific type of salt, Himalayan pink salt, gets its color from trace amounts of minerals, including iron oxide. It is mined in Pakistan. The salt is considered to have a slightly different flavor due to the mineral content. The first chocolate chip cookie was invented by Ruth Wakefield in the 1930s. She was trying to make a chocolate butter cookie and ran out of baker's chocolate. She used semi-sweet chocolate, expecting it to melt, but it kept its shape. The term sandwich was also used in the 18th century to describe a piece of bread with a filling. It was originally a practical meal for travelers. The dish became popular among the British aristocracy and then spread to the rest of Europe. We will let that rest now. The human nose can remember a staggering number of distinct scents. It is capable of identifying and recalling up to 50,000 different odors. This ability is far more sophisticated than most people realize, making the nose a powerful but often overlooked sensory organ. The enamel on your teeth is the hardest substance in the human body. It is even stronger than your bones. This protective outer layer is essential for chewing and grinding food, and it is remarkably resilient against the wear and tear of daily use. The average person will shed roughly 600,000 particles of skin every hour. This means you are constantly losing tiny flakes of skin without even noticing. Over the course of a lifetime, this adds up to about 40 kilograms of skin shed in total. A specific muscle in the human body is used only for coughing. This is the diaphragm, a dome-shaped muscle that sits beneath the lungs. While it is used for breathing, its sudden, forceful contraction is what creates the cough reflex. Human hair is nearly indestructible, save for extreme heat. It resists decay and degradation for a very long time. This is why hair is often found intact in archaeological sites, long after the rest of the body has decomposed. The human body contains enough iron to make a small nail. This iron is found in your red blood cells, where it helps transport oxygen throughout the body. While it is only a tiny amount, it is essential for keeping you alive. The length of your arm span is approximately equal to your height. This is a general rule of human proportion. For most people, the distance from fingertip to fingertip is nearly the same as their total height from head to toe. There is a specific organ in the human body that has no known function. This is the appendix, a small pouch attached to the large intestine. It is not clear what, if anything, the appendix does, and people can live perfectly healthy lives without it. The strongest muscle in the human body, by weight, is the masseter, which is the jaw muscle. It is the muscle you use for chewing. When it contracts, it can generate a surprising amount of force on the molars. A human's taste buds are replaced approximately every 2 weeks. This regeneration process means your sense of taste is constantly renewing itself. The new cells ensure that you can still detect different flavors. The human eye is capable of detecting a single photon of light in the dark. This is a remarkable sensitivity. Under the right conditions, the human eye is at the physical limit of its ability to perceive light. The small bones in your ear, the hammer, anvil, and stirrup, are the smallest bones in the human body. They work together to transmit sound vibrations to the inner ear. These three tiny bones are essential for hearing. Human teeth are the only part of the body that cannot repair themselves. Unlike skin or bone, which can heal, teeth cannot regenerate. This is why cavities are permanent and must be filled by a dentist. The human stomach produces a new layer of mucus every 2 weeks. This is to protect the stomach lining from the strong digestive acids. The stomach is a highly acidic environment, and the body must constantly protect itself from its own digestive juices. There are approximately 100,000 miles of blood vessels in the adult human body. That is enough to wrap around the Earth's equator 4 times. This vast network of veins, arteries, and capillaries delivers oxygen and nutrients to every cell. The human body has more than 600 individual muscles. These are all the muscles that move your body and keep it functioning. They range from the very small muscles in your ear to the large muscles in your legs. The liver is the only human organ that can regenerate itself. If part of the liver is removed, it can grow back to its original size. This remarkable ability makes the liver unique among the body's organs. The human sense of smell is closely linked to memory. This is because the olfactory system is connected to the brain's limbic system. A particular scent can immediately evoke a very specific and vivid memory. The average human heart beats about 100,000 times a day. This is a constant rhythmic pulse that never stops. Over a lifetime, this can add up to over 2 billion beats. Human bones are about 5 times stronger than steel. They are incredibly strong for their weight. While steel is more dense, bone is pound for pound a stronger material. The skin is the largest organ in the human body. It covers your entire body, protecting you from the environment. In an average adult, the skin weighs between 8 and 10 pounds. Human hair grows about half an inch per month. This growth rate is fairly constant. It is faster in the summer and slower in the winter. The human body has more than 600 lymph nodes. These are small, bean-shaped structures. They are part of the lymphatic system, which helps fight infection. The human brain is composed of about 73% water. This high water content is essential for the brain's function. Dehydration, even minor, can affect cognitive performance. There is a specific point on your wrist that is the location of the radial artery. It is a common place to take a pulse. This small artery is easy to feel against the bone. The human tongue has between 2,000 and 4,000 taste buds. These are small structures that detect different flavors. They are clustered on the tongue and the roof of the mouth. The human eye can distinguish approximately 10 million different colors. This is due to the cone cells in the retina. This ability varies from person to person. The human body produces about 2 to 4 pints of saliva each day. This saliva is essential for digestion and oral health. It helps break down food and washes away bacteria. The human skull is made up of 22 bones. These bones are fused together in adults. They protect the brain and form the structure of the face. There are more than 50 different types of hormones in the human body. These are chemical messengers that regulate many functions. They control everything from growth to mood to metabolism. The human skeleton is replaced roughly every 10 years. This is a gradual process of bone remodeling. Old bone is broken down and new bone is formed. The human body has the ability to regulate its own temperature. This process is called thermoregulation. It keeps your body at a consistent temperature of around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. The human ear never stops growing. This is a slow process that continues throughout life. The ears grow larger due to gravity and the loss of elasticity. We will let that rest now. The Leaning Tower of Pisa does not lean in the direction most people think. Its tilt is toward the south, not the north. The tower began leaning during its construction in the 12th century, due to an inadequate foundation on soft ground. and its famous tilt has been slowly increasing for centuries, despite multiple attempts at stabilization. There is a specific room in the White House that has not been changed since 1902. This is the Lincoln bedroom, which was originally used as a cabinet room and office by Abraham Lincoln himself. It has been preserved in its early 20th century style, a quiet piece of presidential history frozen in time. The Great Wall of China is not a single continuous wall. It is a series of fortifications built by various dynasties over many centuries. These walls, watchtowers, and natural barriers like rivers and hills collectively make up what is known as the Great Wall, a network rather than one unbroken structure. The Eiffel Tower can grow by several inches in the summer due to thermal expansion. The iron structure expands when heated by the sun. This tiny increase in height is a normal response to the heat of the day, a quiet example of physical physics at work on a monumental scale. The Statue of Liberty's original torch was replaced in the 1980s. The original torch, damaged by weather and age, is now on display in the statue's museum. The current torch is a replica, designed to be more durable and to withstand the harsh conditions of New York Harbor. The Sydney Opera House has a specific number of tiles on its roof. There are over 1 million white and cream-colored tiles covering the iconic shells. These tiles are self-cleaning, meaning the rain washes away the grime, keeping the building's distinctive appearance bright. The Colosseum in Rome was once flooded for mock sea battles. The Romans used a complex system of aqueducts to fill the arena with water. These naval spectacles, called naumachii, were staged to entertain the crowds, though they were not as common as the gladiatorial contests. The world's tallest building has a specific number of stories dedicated to mechanical equipment. This is the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, which has around 50 floors that are not occupied by residents or offices. These floors house the building's essential mechanical systems, from elevators to air conditioning. There is a house in England built into the side of a cliff that is still inhabited. This is the home in the village of Lizard on the Cornish coast. The house, built into a natural cave-like formation, is a unique piece of architecture that blends into the landscape. The pyramids of Giza are aligned with true north more precisely than any modern building. This remarkable accuracy was achieved by the ancient Egyptians without modern surveying tools. The alignment is so exact that it has been a subject of wonder and study for many years. The Parthenon in Athens was, for centuries, a working church and then a mosque before it became a ruin. It has served many different purposes over its long history. This long history of adaptation is a testament to the structure's importance and its ability to be repurposed over time. The Taj Mahal in India appears to change color depending on the time of day. At dawn, it appears pink, at noon, it is white, and at dusk it takes on a golden hue. This phenomenon is due to the way the sunlight interacts with the white marble of the mausoleum. The Leaning Tower of Pisa has a staircase with 296 steps. This is the number of steps you must climb to reach the top of the tower. It is a specific physical detail of this famous structure. The Great Wall of China is not visible to the naked eye from space. This is a common myth. Astronauts have confirmed that the wall is extremely difficult to see from orbit. The Eiffel Tower was originally built as a temporary structure for the 1889 World's Fair. It was meant to be dismantled after 20 years. It was saved from demolition because it proved useful as a radio transmission tower. The Statue of Liberty was a gift from the people of France to the people of the United States. It was dedicated in 1886. The statue has become a global symbol of freedom and democracy. The Sydney Opera House was designed by a Danish architect, Jørn Utzon. He never saw the building in person after it was completed. He resigned from the project before its completion due to disagreements with the government. The Colosseum in Rome had a retractable awning called a velarium. This awning was used to shade the spectators from the sun. It was operated by sailors who were stationed on the top tier. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai is the tallest building in the world, at over 828 meters tall. It has 163 floors. Its height is so great that you can see the sunset twice from different levels. There is a specific house in the United States called the Winchester Mystery House. It is known for its architectural oddities, including staircases that lead to nowhere. It was built by Sarah Winchester, the widow of the rifle manufacturer. The pyramids of Giza were originally covered in white limestone casing stones. These stones were removed over time, giving the pyramids their current stepped appearance. The original smooth surface is only visible at the very top of the Great Pyramid. The Leaning Tower of Pisa has been closed to the public for safety reasons at various times. It was closed for a decade in the late 20th century for a major stabilization project. The tower is now open to visitors again. The Great Wall of China is about 13,000 miles long. This is its total length, including all of its branches. It is one of the longest structures built by humans. The Eiffel Tower has 20,000 light bulbs on it. These bulbs are used for the light show that happens every hour after dark. The tower's lights are a popular attraction for visitors. The Statue of Liberty is made of copper. The green patina that covers the statue is the result of oxidation. The copper itself is only a few millimeters thick. The Sydney Opera House is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was added to the list in 2007. It is considered a masterpiece of modern architecture. The Colosseum in Rome is one of the most famous landmarks in the world. It is a symbol of the Roman Empire. It attracts millions of visitors each year. The Burj Khalifa has the highest observation deck in the world. It is located on the 148th floor. The deck offers spectacular views of the city of Dubai. There is a specific house in England called the Crooked House. It is a pub that appears to be sinking into the ground. The building is a popular tourist attraction due to its unusual appearance. The pyramids of Giza were built as tombs for the pharaohs. The pyramids are aligned with the stars. This alignment was intentional and has a precise purpose. The Leaning Tower of Pisa is not the only leaning tower in Italy. There are other structures that also lean to varying degrees. The tower in Pisa is the most famous due to its extreme tilt. The Great Wall of China was built over a period of about 2,000 years. It was built to protect the Chinese Empire. The wall is a symbol of Chinese culture. The Eiffel Tower is painted every 7 years. This repainting protects the iron from corrosion. It takes about 50 tons of paint to cover the entire tower. We will let that rest now. The Earth's rotation is gradually slowing down, a process that happens over very long periods of time. The effect is incredibly small, adding roughly 1.7 milliseconds to a day every century. This means that days are getting microscopically longer, though we will never feel the difference. Bananas are technically berries, while strawberries are not. This classification is based on the botanical definition of a berry, which requires a fruit to develop from a single ovary. The strawberry, with its seeds on the outside, does not meet this definition, while the banana does. A specific mineral, magnetite, is the only one that is naturally magnetic. It is an iron oxide with a distinctive black or grayish appearance. This property is why it has been used for centuries in compasses and other navigational tools. The color of the sky is actually a shade of violet, not blue. This is due to a phenomenon called Rayleigh scattering, where shorter wavelengths of light, like violet and blue, are scattered more. Our eyes are more sensitive to blue, so that is the color we perceive. The average cloud weighs around 1 million pounds, which is a surprisingly heavy mass for something that floats in the sky. This weight is due to the enormous amount of water droplets or ice crystals it holds. Despite this heavy load, the cloud remains aloft because the air below is even denser. The smell of rain on dry ground is caused by a specific bacteria called actinomycetes. These bacteria produce a compound called geosmin, which is released when rain hits the soil. This earthy scent is what we recognize as petrichor, a pleasant and recognizable smell. There is a specific type of tree, the giant sequoia, that is naturally fire-resistant. Its thick, fibrous bark contains no flammable resins or pitch, protecting the inner living tissue from heat. This adaptation allows these trees to survive frequent forest fires in their native habitats. The speed of sound varies depending on the temperature of the air. It travels faster in warmer air because the molecules are moving more quickly. At 20 degrees Celsius, sound travels at about 343 meters per second, but this speed changes with the temperature. A specific metal, mercury, is a liquid at room temperature. It is a silvery white, dense metal that is one of the few elements to exist in a liquid state under standard conditions. Mercury is used in thermometers and barometers because of its unique properties. The surface of the moon is darker than most people think. Its albedo, or reflectivity, is about 0.12, which means it reflects only about 12% of the light that hits it. This is similar to the reflectivity of worn asphalt. The Earth's atmosphere contains about 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. This specific composition is essential for life as we know it. The remaining 1% is made up of trace gases like argon and carbon dioxide. There is a specific type of rock, pumice, that is so light it can float on water. This is due to the numerous gas bubbles trapped inside it during volcanic eruptions. It is a very porous and light rock, often found floating in the sea after an eruption. The Arctic tern holds the record for the longest migration of any animal, traveling from the Arctic to the Antarctic and back each year. This annual round trip can cover a distance of over 70,000 kilometers. It is a remarkable journey across the globe. The smallest bird in the world is the bee hummingbird, which is only about 5 centimeters long. It is a tiny bird that lives in Cuba. Its size makes it one of the most delicate and fascinating creatures in nature. A specific type of bacteria, Deinococcus radiodurans, is one of the most radiation-resistant organisms known. It can withstand doses of radiation that would be lethal to most other life forms. This resistance is due to its unique DNA repair mechanisms. The largest living structure on Earth is the Great Barrier Reef, which can be seen from space. It is made up of billions of tiny organisms called coral polyps. The reef stretches over 2,300 kilometers along the coast of Australia. There is a specific plant, the welwitschia, that lives in the Namib Desert and has only 2 leaves that grow continuously throughout its life. These leaves can grow to be several meters long and are often torn by the wind. The plant can live for over 1,000 years. The speed of light in a vacuum is a constant, at approximately 299,792,458 meters per second. This is the fastest speed at which information or energy can travel. This constant is a fundamental principle in physics. The ocean is the largest habitat on Earth, covering more than 70% of the surface. It is home to a vast diversity of life, from microscopic plankton to the largest whales. It remains one of the most unexplored parts of the planet. There is a specific type of fungus, the honey fungus, that is considered the largest living organism on Earth by area. It covers over 2,400 acres in Oregon. This huge network of mycelium grows underground, spreading between trees. The deepest known point in the ocean is the Challenger Deep, in the Mariana Trench. It is approximately 11,000 meters deep. This is a place of immense pressure and near-freezing temperatures. A specific type of bird, the peregrine falcon, is the fastest animal on Earth, reaching speeds of over 300 kilometers per hour in a dive. It uses this speed to hunt other birds in mid-air. This incredible velocity is achieved during its hunting stoop. The Earth's magnetic field is generated by the movement of molten iron in its outer core. This field protects the planet from harmful solar radiation. It is a natural and essential shield that makes life possible. The largest flower in the world is the Rafflesia arnoldi, which can grow up to a meter in diameter. It is a parasitic plant that has no leaves, stems, or roots. It emits a strong odor of decaying flesh to attract flies for pollination. There is a specific type of glacier, a tidewater glacier, which calves into the sea. These glaciers are found in areas where the ice flows directly into the ocean. The calving process is a major source of icebergs. The Earth's axis is tilted at an angle of about 23.5 degrees relative to its orbit. This tilt is responsible for the changing seasons. Without it, the planet would not have the same climatic variations. The atomic number of carbon is 6, meaning it has 6 protons in its nucleus. It is a fundamental element for all known life. Carbon is a versatile element that forms the basis of organic chemistry. The human-made object that has traveled the farthest from Earth is Voyager 1, which entered interstellar space in 2012. It is now over 23 billion kilometers away. It is a small spacecraft with a golden record that contains messages from Earth. There is a specific type of rock, sandstone, that is formed from compacted sand grains. It is a common sedimentary rock. This rock often contains layers of different colors, reflecting the environment in which it was formed. The loudest animal on Earth is the sperm whale, which produces a series of clicking sounds that can reach over 230 decibels. These sounds are used for echolocation. They are the loudest sounds produced by any animal. The atmosphere is divided into several layers, including the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. The troposphere is the lowest layer, where most weather occurs. Each layer has distinct characteristics. A specific type of star, the red dwarf, is the most common type of star in the universe. They are smaller and cooler than our sun. They also burn their fuel very slowly, allowing them to live for trillions of years. The Earth's crust is made up of several large and many smaller tectonic plates. These plates are constantly moving. Their movement can cause earthquakes and create mountain ranges. We will let that rest now. The first pencils did not contain graphite. Before the discovery of large graphite deposits in England, pencils were made from a soft metal called lead, but this was later replaced with a safer and more effective material. The modern pencil, with its graphite core, did not become common until the 16th century. The pattern of holes on a standard pair of dice is called the pips. These small dots are arranged in a specific pattern that has remained unchanged for centuries. The arrangement of these pips is designed to be easily readable, making dice a simple and effective tool for games of chance. The QWERTY keyboard layout was designed to prevent typewriters from jamming. The layout was created by Christopher Latham Scholes in the 1870s. The arrangement placed commonly used letter pairs apart from each other to reduce the likelihood of the type bars clashing. The paperclip was inspired by a specific type of spring. The familiar looped design is based on the concept of the torsion spring. This simple mechanism allows the clip to grip paper securely while remaining easy to remove. The first mobile phone call was made on a device that weighed over 2 pounds. That call was made in 1973 by Martin Cooper, an engineer at Motorola. The phone itself was a heavy, brick-sized prototype that took 10 hours to charge and offered only 30 minutes of talk time. The original purpose of the button was not for fastening clothes. Buttons were originally used as decorative ornaments on clothing, often as a sign of wealth and status. It was only later that they were used for their practical function of securing garments. The zipper was originally called a clasp locker when it was first patented in the early 20th century. This name was later replaced by the simpler term zipper, which was coined by the B.F. Goodrich Company. The zipper quickly became a popular fastener for clothing and luggage. The modern postage stamp was introduced in the 19th century. The first postage stamp, the penny black, was issued in Great Britain in 1840. It featured an image of Queen Victoria and was a revolutionary step in postal history. The first pair of sunglasses were used by Chinese judges to hide their expressions. These were not like modern sunglasses, but were instead flat pieces of smoked quartz. They were used in courtrooms to prevent the judge's emotions from being read. The plastic coating on a paperclip is primarily for safety. It is a protective layer that prevents the metal from scratching or leaving marks on paper. The coating also provides a better grip and makes the clip easier to handle. The first stapler was made for King Louis XV of France in the 18th century. Each staple was inscribed with the royal insignia. It was a luxurious and practical item for the French court. The first commercial ballpoint pen was sold in 1945. It was invented by a Hungarian journalist named Laszlo Biro. The pen used a tiny ball bearing to transfer ink from a reservoir to the paper. The humble rubber band was invented in the 19th century. It was originally made from the sap of rubber trees. The band's elasticity made it a useful and versatile item. The first toothpaste was made from a mixture of crushed eggshells and salt. This abrasive paste was used to clean teeth. Modern toothpaste, with its fluoride and other ingredients, is a much later invention. The first coffee filter was invented in 1908 by a German housewife named Melitta Bentz. She used a piece of paper from her son's schoolbook to filter the coffee. Her invention revolutionized the way coffee was brewed. The common paper cup was invented in 1907. It was created to replace shared glasses at public water fountains. The paper cup was seen as a more hygienic alternative. The first matchbox was made from thin strips of wood. The modern cardboard matchbox was a later development. The matchbox, along with the match, was an essential item before lighters became common. The first alarm clock was made in ancient Greece. It was a water clock that could be set to sound an alarm. The modern mechanical alarm clock was a much later invention. The first sewing machine was patented in the United States in 1846. It was invented by Elias Howe. His machine used a lock stitch that revolutionized the clothing industry. The first refrigerator for home use was introduced in the 1920s. It was a major improvement over the icebox. The refrigerator became an essential appliance in the modern kitchen. The first vacuum cleaner was a large, horse-drawn device. It was used to clean carpets in wealthy homes. The modern, portable vacuum cleaner was a later invention. The first safety razor was patented in 1903 by King C. Gillette. He created a razor with disposable blades. This innovation made shaving safer and more convenient. The first folding umbrella was invented in ancient China. It was made of oiled paper and bamboo. The folding umbrella was a practical and portable invention. The first wristwatch was made for a queen in the 19th century. It was designed as a piece of jewelry. The wristwatch later became a practical tool for men during wartime. The first self-adhesive tape was invented in the 1930s. It was originally used for sealing packages. The tape, now known as Scotch tape, became a household staple. The first ballpoint pen was not a commercial success at first. It was expensive and unreliable. The design was later improved, and it became a popular writing tool. The first plastic was invented in the 19th century. It was called celluloid and was made from cellulose. It was used to make a variety of items, from billiard balls to dentures. The first aerosol can was invented in the 1940s. It was used for insecticide spray. The aerosol can was later adapted for a wide range of products. The first telephone answering machine was invented in the 1930s. It was a bulky and expensive device. It became a common household item after the introduction of cheaper models. The first electric iron was invented in the 1880s. It was a simple device that used a heating element. The electric iron replaced heavy, charcoal-heated irons. The first toaster that could brown bread on both sides was invented in the early 20th century. It was a significant improvement over earlier toasters. The toaster became a common kitchen appliance. The first adhesive bandage was invented by Earl Dixon in 1921. He created it for his wife. The bandage, now known as a Band-Aid, was a practical and simple solution. We will let that rest now. The distance from the Earth to the Sun is approximately 93 million miles, a measurement known as an astronomical unit. This vast distance is the baseline for measuring other distances in our solar system. It takes light about 8 minutes to travel from the Sun to the Earth. One day on Venus is longer than 1 year on Venus. This is because Venus rotates very slowly on its axis, taking about 243 Earth days to complete one rotation. It takes only about 225 Earth days to orbit the Sun, making its day longer than its year. There are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on Earth. This is a staggering comparison that highlights the immense scale of the cosmos. The total number of stars in the observable universe is estimated to be around 10^24, a number that is truly difficult to comprehend. The asteroid belt is largely empty space, despite what is often depicted in science fiction. The asteroids in the belt are spread out over an enormous volume of space. The distance between individual asteroids is typically hundreds of thousands of kilometers. A specific planet, Saturn, has a ring system made of ice. The rings are composed of billions of ice particles, ranging in size from tiny grains to large boulders. These rings are incredibly thin, only about 10 meters thick in some places. The Sun contains over 99% of the mass in our solar system. This overwhelming mass is what governs the orbits of all the planets and other objects. The Sun's gravity is the dominant force in the solar system. There is a specific exoplanet, 55 Cancri e, that is made entirely of diamond. It orbits a sun-like star in the constellation of Cancer. The planet is composed of carbon in a crystalline form, making it a huge cosmic diamond. The estimated age of the universe is about 13.8 billion years. This estimate is based on observations of the oldest stars and the cosmic microwave background radiation. It is the current best estimate for the age of the cosmos. The largest known crater in the solar system is on the Moon. It is called the South Pole Aitken Basin. This massive crater is over 2,500 kilometers in diameter, a huge scar from an ancient impact. The speed of light is exactly 299,792,458 meters per second. This is a fundamental constant of nature. It is the speed at which all electromagnetic radiation travels in a vacuum. The closest star to our Sun is Proxima Centauri, located about 4.24 light-years away. This is a red dwarf star, much smaller and fainter than our Sun. It is part of the Alpha Centauri system. The Milky Way galaxy is a barred spiral galaxy containing between 100 and 400 billion stars. It is our home galaxy, a vast collection of stars, gas, and dust. It is about 100,000 light-years in diameter. The most distant known object in the universe is a galaxy called GNZ11, which is about 13.4 billion light-years away. This galaxy is so far away that we see it as it was shortly after the Big Bang. It is one of the oldest and most distant galaxies ever observed. There is a specific planet, Jupiter, that has a great red spot, a storm that has been raging for hundreds of years. This storm is larger than the Earth. It is a persistent feature of Jupiter's atmosphere. The planet Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun. It is a small, rocky world with a very thin atmosphere. Its surface is heavily cratered, much like our Moon. The average distance between the Earth and the Moon is about 238,855 miles. This distance is slowly increasing as the Moon moves away from the Earth. This is due to the tidal interaction between the two bodies. The oldest known star in the universe is about 13.6 billion years old. This star, known as SMOS J031300.36670839.3, is almost as old as the universe itself. It is a very ancient star, formed from the primordial elements after the Big Bang. There is a specific planet, Uranus, that rotates on its side, with its axis almost perpendicular to its orbit. This unusual tilt gives the planet extreme seasons. It is thought that this tilt was caused by a massive impact early in its history. The Moon is slowly moving away from the Earth at a rate of about 3.8 centimeters per year. This is a very slow process. Over millions of years, this will have a significant effect on the tides and the length of the day. The Sun is a main sequence star, which means it is in the middle of its life cycle. It is about 4.6 billion years old. The Sun will eventually expand into a red giant before dying as a white dwarf. The largest known star in the universe is UY Scuti, a red supergiant with a radius about 1,700 times that of our Sun. It is so large that it would encompass the orbit of Saturn if it were placed in our solar system. It is a truly massive star. There is a specific nebula, the Crab Nebula, which is the remnant of a supernova that was observed in 1054 AD. It is a beautiful and complex structure. This nebula is a remnant of a massive star explosion. The gravitational pull of the Moon is the main cause of the Earth's tides. The Moon's gravity pulls on the Earth's oceans, creating bulges. This is why we have high and low tides. There is a specific point in space, called the Lagrange point, where the gravitational forces of two large bodies create a point of equilibrium. These points are useful for placing satellites. They are stable points in space. The most abundant element in the universe is hydrogen, making up about 75% of the mass of the observable universe. Helium is the second most abundant. These two elements were formed during the Big Bang. There is a specific meteor shower, the Perseids, that occurs every year in August. It is caused by the Earth passing through the debris trail of a comet. The Perseids are one of the most popular meteor showers. The surface of Mars is home to the largest volcano in the solar system, Olympus Mons. This volcano is about 2.5 times the height of Mount Everest. It is a massive shield volcano that has been dormant for a long time. The first person to walk on the Moon was Neil Armstrong in 1969. He was part of the Apollo 11 mission. His famous words, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind," were heard around the world. There is a specific planet, Neptune, that has the strongest winds in the solar system. These winds can reach speeds of over 1,500 miles per hour. They are driven by the planet's internal heat. The asteroid belt is between Mars and Jupiter. It contains millions of asteroids. These are the remnants of the early solar system. There is a specific exoplanet, Kepler-22b, that is in the habitable zone of its star. This means it could potentially have liquid water on its surface. It is one of many exoplanets that are being studied for their potential to support life. The Hubble Space Telescope has been in orbit for over 3 decades. It has provided stunning images of the universe. It has revolutionized our understanding of astronomy. We will let that rest now. The first umbrella was invented in ancient Mesopotamia, where it was originally used as a shield against the sun rather than the rain. It was a symbol of status and power, carried by royalty and nobility. The practical use of the umbrella for rain protection came much later, a quiet shift in function over time. The safety pin was patented in the 19th century by a specific inventor named Walter Hunt in 1849. He created it as a way to pay off a debt of $15, twisting a piece of wire into a coil with a clasp. His design proved so effective that it is still used today, essentially unchanged. The first all-steel office building was constructed in Chicago in the late 19th century. This was the Home Insurance Building, completed in 1885. It represented a major shift in architectural design, allowing for taller and more fire-resistant structures. The first successful safety match was invented in Sweden in the 1840s by Gustav Erik Pasch. It was a significant improvement over earlier matches, which could be lit by friction against almost any surface. Pasch's design used a non-toxic red phosphorus coating on the striking surface, making it safer to handle and store. The modern toaster was invented before the sliced bread you put in it. The first electric toaster for home use was introduced in 1909, but sliced bread did not become widely available until 1928. This means people were toasting whole loaves of bread for nearly 2 decades before pre-sliced bread became common. The first pair of blue jeans was created for miners in the late 19th century. Levi Strauss, a German immigrant, and Jacob Davis, a tailor, patented the design in 1873. The sturdy denim pants were reinforced with copper rivets to withstand the hard labor of the California gold rush. The first electric traffic light was installed in 1914 in Cleveland, Ohio. It was a simple system with red and green lights, controlled by a police officer in a nearby booth. This early traffic signal was a major step toward managing the increasing number of automobiles on the road. The first flying shuttle was invented in 1733 by John Kay, an English weaver. This device was a simple but revolutionary improvement that allowed a single weaver to operate a loom much faster than before. It greatly increased the speed of weaving and was a key development in the textile industry. The first mechanical calculator was invented by Blaise Pascal in the 17th century. He created it in 1642 to help his father, a tax collector, with his calculations. This device, known as the Pascaline, could perform addition and subtraction directly. The invention of the internal combustion engine predates the invention of the car by decades. The first practical internal combustion engine was developed in the 1860s. It was not until the late 1880s that engines were small and powerful enough to be mounted on a carriage to create the first automobiles. The microwave oven was invented by accident in 1945 when an engineer noticed a chocolate bar melting in his pocket. Percy Spencer was working on radar equipment when he discovered that the microwaves from a magnetron could heat food quickly. His observation led to the development of a new kitchen appliance. The first postage stamp, the penny black, was introduced in Great Britain in 1840. It featured a profile of Queen Victoria and was a revolutionary change in how mail was paid for. Before this, the recipient typically paid for the letter upon delivery. The first pair of sunglasses were used by Chinese judges to hide their expressions in courtrooms. These early glasses were made of smoked quartz and served a practical purpose for judges. They were not used for protection from the sun, but to maintain an air of impartiality. The first ballpoint pen was invented in 1938 by a Hungarian journalist named László Bíró. He was frustrated with the messy nature of fountain pens and created a pen that used a tiny ball bearing to transfer ink. The British government later supplied these pens to the Royal Air Force because they did not leak at high altitudes. The first self-adhesive tape was invented in the 1930s by Richard Drew, an engineer at 3M. It was originally used to mark off sections of a car during paint jobs. Its popularity grew during the Great Depression, and it eventually became a household staple. The first electric washing machine was invented in the early 20th century. It was a significant improvement over manual washing methods. It made the chore of washing clothes much easier and faster. The first safety razor was patented in 1903 by King C. Gillette. He created a razor with a thin, disposable blade, making it safer and more convenient than straight razors. His invention revolutionized the practice of shaving. The first motorized vacuum cleaner was invented in 1901 by Hubert Cecil Booth. It was a large, horse-drawn device that was powered by an internal combustion engine. It was a far cry from the small, portable vacuums we use today. The first pair of jeans was created for miners, but they were not the first denim pants. Denim fabric had been used for other clothing items before. The innovation was the use of copper rivets to reinforce the pockets. The first successful photocopier was invented by Chester Carlson in 1938. He was a patent attorney who needed to make multiple copies of documents, and he was frustrated by the time it took to copy them by hand. His invention, originally called electrophotography, eventually became the modern Xerox machine. The first paperclip was not the standard design we know today. It was a simple piece of wire bent into a triangle. The modern loop design was introduced in the early 20th century. The first zipper was designed to hold shoes closed, not clothing. It was called a clasp locker and was later adapted for use on clothing and bags. The name zipper came much later. The first dishwasher was invented by a woman in the 1880s named Josephine Cochrane. She was a wealthy socialite who wanted to protect her fine china from being broken by servants. Her invention used water pressure and a rack system to clean dishes. The first electric iron was not the immediate successor to the heavy, charcoal-heated irons. It was a simple device that used a heating element. It was a significant improvement in convenience. The first pressure cooker was invented in the 17th century by a French physicist named Denis Papin. He called it a steam digester, and it was designed to cook food quickly. It was a precursor to modern pressure cookers. The first answering machine was invented in the 1930s, but it was a bulky and unreliable device. It was not until the 1970s that answering machines became commercially successful and widely used. The first phone-mate model weighed 10 pounds and could only hold 20 messages. The first digital computer was not a personal computer. It was a large machine used for scientific calculations. The first commercially available computer was the UNIVAC I, released in 1951. The first computer mouse was made of wood. It was invented by Douglas Engelbart in the 1960s. The device was a simple wooden box with two metal wheels. The first automatic teller machine, ATM, was invented in the 1930s. It was not successful at first, as it was only used by gamblers who did not want to look someone in the eye. The modern ATM was developed much later. The first prepackaged cake mix was introduced in the 1940s. It revolutionized home baking. It was first sold in the United States in 1949. The first plastic was created in the 19th century. This was parquesine, which was made from cellulose. It was a precursor to modern synthetic plastics. The first wearable technology was the hearing aid, which used a transistor instead of a vacuum tube in 1952. This was a major step towards miniaturizing electronics for consumer use. We will let that rest now. The international dateline is not a straight line. It follows the 180th meridian for much of its path, but it zigzags in several places to avoid splitting island groups or countries. This irregularity ensures that places like the Aleutian Islands and Fiji share the same calendar day as their neighbors. There is a specific time zone that is off by 45 minutes from the hour. The Chatham Islands in New Zealand use a time zone that is UTC plus 12:45. This unusual quarter-hour offset reflects the island's location far to the east of the main New Zealand landmass. It is a quiet reminder that time zones can be surprisingly specific. The prime meridian has shifted slightly since it was originally established. The original line at Greenwich was defined by the transit of a specific telescope, but modern satellite measurements have shown it to be about 100 meters to the east. This subtle shift is due to changes in how the Earth's rotation and axis are precisely measured. The 180th meridian passes through a specific island in the Pacific Ocean, but it does not always define the dateline. It passes through the island of Taveuni in Fiji. However, the dateline is drawn to the east of the island to keep the entire country on the same day. There is a country where the time zone is GMT 12, making it one of the last places to see the new year. This is Baker Island, an uninhabited atoll in the Pacific. It is one of the last places on Earth to ring in the new year, a quiet fact about the edge of the calendar. The first time zone was established by a specific railway company in the United States in 1883. The railroads created a system of 4 standard time zones to avoid the chaos of local times. This system was later adopted worldwide and became the basis for modern timekeeping. The map of the world is distorted due to the Mercator projection. This projection inflates the size of land masses near the poles, making Greenland look as large as Africa, though it is much smaller. It is a common and persistent distortion that most people are not aware of. There is a specific island, Samoa, that officially changed its time zone in 2011. It shifted from the eastern side of the international dateline to the western side to align its business week with Australia and New Zealand. This meant that the country skipped a day, jumping from Thursday to Saturday. The old city of Jerusalem is surrounded by a specific length of wall, roughly 4 kilometers. This wall was built in the 16th century by the Ottoman Empire. It defines the perimeter of the historic city, which has been a site of cultural and religious significance for millennia. The South Pole is located on a continent, Antarctica, while the North Pole is in the middle of an ocean, the Arctic Ocean. This difference is fundamental to the geography of the poles. The South Pole has a permanent ice sheet, while the North Pole has sea ice that varies with the seasons. A degree of latitude is not a fixed distance. Because the Earth is slightly flattened at the poles, a degree of latitude at the equator is about 110.6 kilometers, while at the poles it is about 111.7 kilometers. This subtle variation is due to the oblate spheroid shape of the planet. The first known world map to use a grid of latitude and longitude was created by the ancient Greek geographer Ptolemy in the 2nd century. His system was remarkably sophisticated, though it was based on an incorrect circumference of the Earth. It was not until the 16th century that his maps were improved upon. There is a specific point in the Pacific Ocean where the international dateline and the equator intersect. This is a completely arbitrary point on the map. It is a place where the lines of geography and time cross, but it is otherwise unremarkable. The country of China uses a single time zone, even though it spans 5 geographical time zones. This is a political decision to unite the country. It means that the sun can rise as early as 5 a.m. in the east and as late as 8 a.m. in the west. The original definition of the meter was based on a fraction of the distance from the equator to the North Pole. It was defined as 1/10,000,000th of this quarter meridian. This definition was later replaced by a more precise standard based on the speed of light. There is a specific island, Kiribati, that is split by the international dateline. To keep the entire country on the same day, the line was moved to the east. This made Kiribati one of the first countries to see the new year. The prime meridian is the starting point for measuring longitude. It is defined as 0 degrees longitude. It passes through the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, England. The first successful measurement of the Earth's circumference was made by Eratosthenes in the 3rd century BCE. He used the angle of the sun at 2 different locations in Egypt. His calculation was remarkably accurate for the time. There is a specific country, Nepal, that uses a time zone that is UTC plus 545. This is another example of a quarter-hour offset. It is a practical choice based on the country's location. The concept of standard time was first proposed by a Canadian railway engineer, Sir Sandford Fleming, in the 19th century. He advocated for a global system of time zones. His work was instrumental in the adoption of standard time around the world. There is a specific line on the map, the line of control, which divides the disputed territory of Kashmir between India and Pakistan. It is a heavily militarized boundary. It is not an internationally recognized border, but a de facto division. The old city of Jerusalem has a specific number of gates. There are 7 gates in the city wall that are still open for access. These gates have been used for centuries and have specific names. The international dateline is not a straight line because it is drawn to avoid dividing countries. It is a political and practical line, not a purely geographical one. The zigzags are a result of these adjustments. The Earth's axis is tilted at an angle of about 23.5 degrees. This tilt is responsible for the seasons. It is also the reason why the length of a day varies throughout the year. The concept of latitude and longitude is essential for navigation. It allows ships and planes to pinpoint their exact location on the planet. It is a universal coordinate system for the Earth. There is a specific point in the Atlantic Ocean where the prime meridian and the equator intersect. This is a completely arbitrary point. It is located in the Gulf of Guinea, off the coast of West Africa. The first known calculation of longitude was made by using a lunar eclipse. This method was used by the ancient Greeks. It was not very accurate, but was a step toward more precise navigation. The country of Norway is the only country that is entirely north of the Arctic Circle. It has a long coastline and a very specific geography. Its northernmost point is on the island of Magaroya. There is a specific time zone, UTC-1, which is used by the Azores and Cape Verde. It is an offset of 1 hour behind UTC. It is a relatively rare time zone. The old city of Jerusalem is surrounded by a wall that was built for defensive purposes. The wall is about 4 kilometers long and has 34 watchtowers. It is a defining feature of the city. We will let that rest now. The study of the weather in a very small area, such as a single valley or a city park, is called microclimatology. It focuses on the subtle variations in temperature, humidity, and wind that can exist within a tiny region. These local weather patterns are often distinct from the broader regional climate, a quiet observation about how the world works on a very small scale. The specific process of a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly is called metamorphosis. It is a biological process of complete physical change, where the insect goes through distinct stages. This transformation involves the breakdown of the caterpillar's body and the formation of a completely new adult form. The term for a group of crows is a murder. This collective noun is one of many unusual terms used for groups of animals. It is a specific and slightly unsettling word, a piece of language that has become associated with these birds. The scientific term for the fear of long words is hippopotamonstrosi. It is a famously long and ironic word, as it describes the very thing it is. This term is a playful example of how language can be both descriptive and self-referential. The specific name for the point in the Earth's orbit when it is closest to the Sun is the perihelion. This occurs in early January each year. It is a quiet astronomical event, a precise moment in the planet's annual journey. The process of a plant closing its leaves at night is called nyctinasty. This is a type of movement that is a response to the daily cycle of light and dark. It is a subtle, rhythmic behavior that is common in certain plant species. The specific term for the washing away of soil by wind is deflation. This is a geological process that can create desert pavements and other landforms. It is a quiet, persistent force of erosion that shapes the landscape over time. The study of animal tracks and signs is called ichnology. It is a specialized field that can reveal information about an animal's behavior, movement, and environment. It is a quiet science of reading the stories left behind in the ground. The specific name for the flight path of a projectile is its trajectory. This is a predictable curve, determined by gravity and the initial speed and angle. It is a fundamental concept in physics. The scientific name for the common cold is a specific viral strain, typically a rhinovirus. These viruses are the most common cause of the common cold. They are a specific and well-studied group of pathogens. The study of the structure of the Earth's crust is called geology. This includes the study of rocks, minerals, and the processes that shape the planet. It is a broad and fundamental science. The term for the study of the relationship between living things and their environment is ecology. It is a science that looks at the complex web of interactions between organisms and their surroundings. It is a quiet and essential field. The specific name for the small, fleshy projection at the back of your throat is the uvula. It is a teardrop-shaped piece of tissue. It plays a minor role in speech and swallowing. The term for the process of a liquid turning into a gas is evaporation. This is a physical change that occurs when molecules gain enough energy to escape the liquid's surface. It is a common and observable process. The study of the universe as a whole is called cosmology. It looks at the origin, evolution, and eventual fate of the cosmos. It is a grand and expansive field of inquiry. The specific name for the process of a gas turning into a liquid is condensation. This is the reverse of evaporation. It is the process that creates clouds. The term for the study of the Earth's atmosphere and its weather is meteorology. It is a science that uses data and models to forecast the weather. It is a complex and practical field. The specific name for the hard, protective outer layer of a seed is the testa. It is a tough outer covering. It protects the embryo inside. The study of the history of the Earth is called historical geology. It looks at the planet's past through the evidence preserved in rocks. It is a long and gradual narrative. The term for the study of the Earth's oceans is oceanography. It is a science that explores the chemistry, biology, and physics of the ocean. It is a vast and largely unexplored field. The specific name for the process of a solid turning directly into a gas is sublimation. This is a phase transition that skips the liquid state. It is a quiet physical phenomenon. The study of the Earth's magnetic field is called geomagnetism. It is a geophysical science that looks at the planet's internal magnetism. It is a complex and dynamic field. The term for the study of the Earth's surface features is geomorphology. It looks at the processes that shape the land, from mountains to valleys. It is a quiet and descriptive field. The specific name for the process of a gas turning directly into a solid is deposition. This is the reverse of sublimation. It is the process that creates frost. The study of the Earth's interior is called geophysics. It uses physical principles to understand the planet's internal structure. It is a deep and indirect science. The term for the study of the Earth's water is hydrology. It is the science of water distribution and movement. It is a vital and practical field. The specific name for the process of a liquid turning into a solid is freezing. This is a physical change that occurs at a specific temperature. It is a common and observable process. The study of the Earth's climate is called climatology. It looks at long-term weather patterns and changes. It is a complex and important field. The term for the study of the Earth's landforms is geomorphology. It focuses on the surface features of the planet. It is a quiet and descriptive field. The specific name for the process of a solid turning into a liquid is melting. This is a physical change that occurs at a specific temperature. It is a common and observable process. The study of the Earth's natural resources is called economic geology. It focuses on the materials that are useful to humans. It is a practical and applied field. The term for the study of the Earth's history through fossils is paleontology. It is the science of ancient life. It is a quiet and detailed field. We will let that rest now. The flag of Nepal is the only national flag that is not rectangular. It consists of two stacked triangles, a crimson red and a deep blue border. This unusual shape is a distinct feature of the country's identity. The flag of Denmark is the oldest national flag still in use. It is called the Dannebrog and is red with a white cross. The flag's design has remained largely unchanged for centuries. There is a country whose flag contains a specific weapon. The flag of Mozambique features an AK-47 with a bayonet attached. It is one of the few national flags to include a modern firearm. The flag of a specific nation has a double-headed eagle on it. This is the flag of Albania, which has a black, double-headed eagle on a red background. This symbol has been used by the country for many years. The specific shade of blue on the flag of a particular country is officially defined. The flag of the Dominican Republic uses a specific shade of blue, which is officially defined by law. This ensures that the flag is always the correct color. The national animal of Scotland is the unicorn. It is a mythical creature that has been a symbol of Scotland for centuries. The unicorn is often depicted on the Scottish coat of arms. There is a specific national anthem that has no words. The national anthem of Spain, La Marcha Real, has no official lyrics. It is one of only a few anthems that are purely instrumental. The emblem on a specific country's flag is a palm tree. The flag of South Yemen, which was in use from 1967 to 1990, featured a palm tree. It was a symbol of the country's agricultural heritage. The flag of a specific South American nation features a sun with a face. The flag of Argentina has a sun with a face on it, called the Sun of May. This sun is a symbol of the country's independence. The specific number of stars on the flag of the EU is fixed. The European Union flag has 12 stars. The number of stars is fixed and does not change with new members. The flag of the United States has 50 stars. Each star represents a state. The flag's design has changed many times as the country has grown. The flag of Canada features a maple leaf. The maple leaf has been a symbol of Canada for a long time. The current flag was adopted in 1965. The flag of Japan is a simple red circle on a white background. It is called the Hinomaru. The design represents the sun. The flag of Switzerland is one of the few flags that is square. It is a red square with a white cross in the center. The Swiss flag is a symbol of neutrality. The flag of Brazil is green, with a yellow diamond and a blue circle. The blue circle has 27 stars. Each star represents a state in the country. The flag of India has 3 stripes of saffron, white and green. In the center is a blue wheel with 24 spokes. The wheel is called the Ashoka Chakra. The flag of France is red, white, and blue. It is called the tricolore. The colors are a symbol of the French Revolution. The flag of Germany is black, red, and gold. It is a symbol of democracy and freedom. The current flag was adopted after World War II. The flag of Italy is green, white, and red. It is called the tricolore. The colors represent hope, faith, and charity. The flag of South Africa has 6 colors. It is a unique design that represents the country's diversity. The flag was adopted in 1994. The flag of Australia has a blue background with the Union Jack and stars. The stars represent the Southern Cross. The flag is a symbol of the country's history. The flag of New Zealand has a blue background with the Union Jack and stars. The stars are red and represent the Southern Cross. The flag is similar to Australia's. The flag of the United Kingdom is called the Union Jack. It combines the crosses of England, Scotland, and Ireland. The flag is a symbol of the union of these countries. The flag of Greece is blue and white with 9 stripes. It is a symbol of the country's independence. The colors represent the sky and the sea. The flag of Russia is white, blue, and red. It is called the tricolore. The colors have been used for centuries. The flag of Turkey is red with a white crescent and star. It is a symbol of the country's history and culture. The design is very old. The flag of Pakistan is green with a white crescent and star. The green represents Islam, and the white represents other religions. The flag is a symbol of the country's national identity. The flag of Iran has 3 horizontal stripes of green, white, and red. In the center is a stylized design representing the word Allah. The flag was adopted after the 1979 revolution. The flag of Poland is white and red. The colors are a symbol of the country's history. The flag is simple and recognizable. The flag of Ukraine is blue and yellow. The blue represents the sky, and the yellow represents wheat fields. The flag is a symbol of the country's agricultural heritage. The flag of Sweden is blue with a yellow cross. It is a simple and recognizable design. The flag has been used for centuries. The flag of Norway is red with a blue cross outlined in white. It is a symbol of the country's history. The flag was adopted in 1821. The flag of Finland is white with a blue cross. The white represents snow, and the blue represents lakes. The flag is a symbol of the country's natural beauty. We will let that rest now. The first known book printed with movable metal type was produced in Korea in the 13th century. It was a Buddhist text called the Jikji, which was printed in 1377, predating Gutenberg's press by several decades. This demonstrates that Asia was home to some of the earliest forms of movable type. The first recorded Olympic Games were held in 776 BCE in Olympia, Greece. They consisted of a single foot race, the stadion, which was approximately 192 meters long. The Games were a religious festival, though they also became a symbol of athletic prowess. The first person to walk on the moon was Neil Armstrong in 1969. He was the commander of the Apollo 11 mission and stepped onto the lunar surface in July of that year. His famous words, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind," were heard around the world. The first known photograph of a person was taken by accident in 1838. Louis Daguerre was taking a photograph of a street in Paris, and a man getting his shoes shined happened to stand still long enough to be captured. This unintended portrait is the earliest known image of a human being. The first successful parachute jump was performed in the late 18th century. André-Jacques Garnerin made the first parachute descent in 1797, jumping from a hydrogen balloon at a height of about 3,000 feet over Paris. He used a parachute without a rigid frame, which caused him to swing wildly during the descent. The first transatlantic flight was completed in 1919 by John Alcock and Arthur Brown. They flew a modified Vickers Vimy bomber from Newfoundland to Ireland in just over 16 hours. This was a landmark achievement in aviation, despite the difficulties they faced. The first submarine attack occurred during the American Civil War in 1864. The Confederate submarine H.L. Hunley attacked and sank the USS Housatonic using a spar torpedo. However, the Hunley itself was lost in the attack and was not recovered until over a century later. The first use of a specific anesthetic, ether, was recorded in 1846. A dentist named William Morton demonstrated the use of ether for a surgical procedure at Massachusetts General Hospital. This marked the beginning of modern anesthesia. The first known board game was played in ancient Mesopotamia. The royal game of is a board game that was played over 4,500 years ago. 2 boards were found in the Royal Cemetery of The first self-service grocery store opened in the United States in 1916. The Piggly Wiggly store in Memphis, Tennessee, was the first grocery store to allow customers to pick their own items from the shelves. This was a revolutionary change in retail, allowing for more efficient shopping and lower prices. The first successful heart transplant was performed in 1967 by Dr. Christian Barnard in South Africa. The patient, Louis Washkansky, received the heart of a young woman who had died in a car accident. The operation was a significant medical milestone, though the patient lived only 18 days due to complications. The first known form of writing was developed in Mesopotamia around 3200 BCE. This was cuneiform, a system of wedge-shaped marks pressed into clay tablets. It was used for record-keeping, such as accounting and trade, rather than for literature. The first wheel was not used for transport, but for pottery. The potter's wheel is believed to have been invented around 3500 BCE in Mesopotamia. It was used to shape clay into vessels, and the wheel for transport came later. The first known map of the world was created by Anaximander in the 6th century BCE. His map was a circular disk with the known world at its center. It was a simple representation based on his understanding of the Earth's shape. The first mechanical clock was invented in the 13th century. These early clocks were driven by weights and used a verge escapement mechanism. They were large and not very accurate, but were a major advancement in timekeeping. The first known domesticated animal was the dog, around 15,000 years ago. Dogs were the first animals to be domesticated, likely from wolves. They were used for hunting and companionship. The first known written laws were the Code of Ur-Nammu, created around 2100 BCE. This code predates the Code of Hammurabi and is one of the oldest known legal texts. It was a system of justice that included punishments for various crimes. The first successful parachute jump from an airplane was made in 1912 by Albert Berry. He jumped from a plane flying over Missouri at a height of about 1,500 feet. His parachute was a pack type, which was a significant innovation. The first known university was founded in Morocco in 859 CE. The University of Al-Qarawiyyin was established by a wealthy merchant's daughter. It was a center of learning that offered a variety of subjects. The first known currency was created in ancient Lydia in the 7th century BCE. These coins were made of a natural alloy of gold and silver, known as electrum. They were used for trade and commerce. The first known use of zero as a number was in India in the 9th century. Indian mathematicians used a dot to represent zero in their calculations. This concept was later adopted and developed by Arab and European mathematicians. The first known use of concrete was by the Romans in the 3rd century BCE. They used it to build structures like the Pantheon and the Colosseum. The Roman concrete was made from a mixture of lime, volcanic ash, and seawater. The first known airmail flight was made in 1911. A pilot named Henri Piquet carried a bag of mail from a town near Delhi in India. He flew a distance of about 6 miles, marking the beginning of airmail services. The first known use of the Internet was in 1969. A message was sent from UCLA to Stanford using a network called ARPANET. The system crashed after 2 letters, but it was the beginning of the Internet. The first known photograph was taken in 1826 by Joseph Nicephore Niepce. It was a view from his window in France, and it took 8 hours to expose. This image is considered the oldest surviving photograph. The first known public library was established in ancient Rome. It was founded by a wealthy Roman official in the 1st century BCE. The library was open to the public and contained a collection of scrolls. The first known use of a printing press in Europe was by Johannes Gutenberg in the 1450s. He invented a printing press with movable type, which allowed for the mass production of books. The printing press had a profound impact on the spread of information. The first known use of a lighthouse was in ancient Egypt. The lighthouse of Alexandria was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It was a tall tower with a fire at the top to guide ships. The first known use of a telescope was by Galileo Galilei in 1609. He used it to observe the night sky and made important discoveries about the moon and the stars. His observations revolutionized astronomy. The first known use of a rocket was in ancient China. It was used for fireworks and later for military purposes. The earliest rockets were made of bamboo and filled with gunpowder. The first known use of a sailboat was in ancient Egypt. The Egyptians used boats with sails to travel on the Nile. They were made of wood and were used for trade and transportation. The first known use of a compass was in ancient China. It was a simple magnetic needle that pointed north. It was used for navigation and for other purposes. We will let that rest now. There is a specific mushroom, the foxfire fungus, that glows in the dark. It is a bioluminescent organism that emits a bluish-green light from decaying wood. This glow is caused by a chemical reaction involving a light-emitting molecule. The phenomenon has been known since ancient times, with the source determined in 1823. The oldest living tree is estimated to be over 5,000 years old. This is a bristlecone pine named Methuselah, located in the White Mountains of California. It is a slow-growing tree that has survived for millennia in a harsh environment. Its exact location is kept secret to protect it. A specific plant, the sensitive plant or Mimosa pudica, closes its leaves when touched. This is a rapid response to physical stimulation, a defense mechanism against herbivores. The leaves fold inward and droop, a quiet and visible reaction to the disturbance. There is a type of bamboo that can grow a meter in a day. This is a very fast-growing grass that can reach remarkable heights in a short period. The rapid growth is due to its unique cell structure that allows for speedy expansion. The specific odor of a corpse flower is designed to attract specific insects, like carrion beetles and flesh flies. It emits a smell of rotting meat, a scent that pollinators find irresistible. The odor is most potent in the first 2 days of its bloom. Its giant bloom and inflorescence can reach over 10 feet in height after years of storing energy. There is a tree that is fire-resistant due to its bark. This is the giant sequoia, which has thick, fibrous bark with no flammable resins. The bark protects the inner living tissue from heat, allowing the tree to survive natural fires. The specific process of a plant turning sunlight into energy is photosynthesis. It is the fundamental process by which plants convert light into chemical energy. This is a quiet and essential life-sustaining reaction. There is a specific plant, a type of Rafflesia, that lives entirely underground except for its flower. It is a parasitic plant with no leaves, stems, or roots. It exists as a network of cells inside a host vine and only emerges to bloom. The specific type of moss that grows on the north side of trees is a myth. Moss can grow on all sides of a tree. Its growth is determined by moisture and shade, not just direction. There is a specific plant that mimics the shape and color of another species to survive. This is a form of mimicry, where a species evolves to resemble another for protection. The young pods of some legume plants mimic caterpillars for defense. The largest seed in the world is the double coconut or coco de mer of the Seychelles, which can weigh up to 20 kilograms. This is a massive seed that takes years to mature. It is a unique and remarkable example of plant biology. The smallest seeds belong to orchids, with 30,000 seeds weighing barely a gram. These tiny seeds are dispersed by wind. They are a quiet contrast to the enormous seeds of the double coconut. The world's largest flower is the Rafflesia arnoldii, which can grow up to a meter in diameter. It is a parasitic plant with no leaves, stems, or roots. It emits a strong odor of decaying flesh to attract flies for pollination. The tallest bloom in the world belongs to the Titan arum, which can reach over 10 feet tall. It is an inflorescence, a collection of thousands of tiny flowers. The bloom grows at an incredible rate of several inches per day prior to opening. The massive tuber of the Titan arum can weigh over 200 pounds. This underground structure stores the energy needed for the plant's enormous bloom. It can take 7 to 10 years to gather enough energy for a single flowering. The Titan arum heats up to about human body temperature during its bloom. This self-heating helps to volatilize and spread the foul odor. The scent is designed to attract flies and beetles. Some plants have translucent leaf windows that allow light to reach internal chloroplasts. These windows are an adaptation for photosynthesis in challenging environments. They are found in certain succulents and arid zone plants. The oldest known living organism is a clonal colony of quaking aspen trees called pando. It is a single genetic individual that covers over 100 acres. It is thousands of years old. The largest organism on Earth by area is a honey fungus, covering over 2,400 acres in Oregon. It is a vast network of mycelium growing underground. It is considered one of the oldest and largest living things. A specific plant, the Venus flytrap, is a carnivorous plant that eats insects. It catches its prey by snapping its leaves shut. This is a specific and unusual adaptation for obtaining nutrients. There is a plant that can survive in the desert, the welwitschia, which has only 2 leaves that grow continuously. This plant is extremely old and unusual. It is adapted to the harsh conditions of the Namib Desert. The process of a plant losing its leaves in autumn is called abscission. This is a controlled process, not a passive one. The plant actively cuts off the leaves to conserve water. Some plants are carnivorous because they grow in nutrient-poor soil. They supplement their diet by digesting insects. This is a specific adaptation to a challenging environment. The bark of a cork oak tree can be harvested without killing the tree. It is a renewable resource. The bark grows back after it is removed. There is a specific plant, the sunflower, that exhibits heliotropism, where it turns to face the sun. The young sunflowers track the sun's movement. This is a quiet example of a plant responding to its environment. The process of a plant responding to gravity is called gravitropism. Roots grow down and shoots grow up. This is a fundamental process for plant growth. Some plants are epiphytes, meaning they grow on other plants without being parasitic. They get their nutrients from the air and rain. This is a specific way of life for some tropical plants. There is a specific plant, the baobab tree, which stores water in its trunk. It can store thousands of liters of water. This adaptation allows it to survive in dry climates. The flower of the corpse plant is not a single flower, but an inflorescence. The largest unbranched inflorescence in the world is the corpse flower. The bloom only lasts for a few days, but the scent is a powerful draw. The specific color of the corpse flower's spathe is a deep maroon. This color mimics rotting meat, attracting the insects that pollinate it. The combination of color and smell is a powerful trap for pollinators. There is a specific plant, the resurrection plant, which can dry out and survive for years without water. It can completely rehydrate and resume growth when water is available. This is a remarkable survival mechanism. The roots of a mistletoe are specialized structures called haustoria. They penetrate the host's branches to steal water and nutrients. Some mistletoes also mimic the leaves of their host plants. The giant redwood, the world's biggest tree, grows from a seed that is less than 2 millimeters long. This is a quiet but impressive fact about a very large tree. We will let that rest now. The metric system was officially defined in the 18th century, during the French Revolution. It was a deliberate attempt to create a universal and rational system of measurement based on the natural world. The meter was originally defined as 1/10,000,000th of the distance from the North Pole to the equator. There is a specific unit of measurement for the thickness of silk, called the momme. This is a Japanese unit used to measure the weight of silk fabric. It is a precise and specialized measure for a specific industry. The specific size of a standard sheet of paper, A4, has a ratio of 1 to the square root of 2. This ratio is designed so that folding the paper in half creates another sheet with the same proportions. It is a mathematically elegant system for paper sizes. The specific weight of a standard gold bar is roughly 12.4 kilograms. This is the standard weight for a good delivery gold bar. It is a specific and uniform measure used in international trade. The exact speed of a person walking at a normal pace is about 3 miles per hour. This is the average speed for a healthy adult on level ground. It is a quiet and unremarkable fact about human movement. There is a specific unit for measuring the depth of water called a fathom, which is exactly 6 feet. This unit was historically used by sailors to measure the depth of the sea. It is a practical measurement with a specific application. The specific temperature of the human body is generally 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the accepted average internal temperature. It is a widely known figure that is often used as a baseline for health. The exact number of hours in a year is 8,760. This is the product of 365 days multiplied by 24 hours. It is a simple calculation that defines the length of a common year. The specific length of a cricket pitch is 22 yards. This is a fixed distance between the wickets. It is a fundamental measurement for the sport. There is a specific unit for measuring the potential of a volcanic eruption called the Volcanic Explosivity Index. This is a scale similar to the Richter scale for earthquakes. It measures the volume of ejecta, the height of the eruption column, and the duration of the eruption. The second is defined by the vibrations of a cesium atom. The official definition is based on the frequency of microwave radiation emitted by a cesium-133 atom. This atomic clock is the most precise timekeeping device. The Kelvin is the unit of temperature in the International System of Units. It is based on absolute zero, the coldest possible temperature. It is a scientific scale used in physics and chemistry. A pound is officially defined as 0.453592237 kilograms. This is the exact conversion factor between the two systems. It is a specific and unchanging relationship. The inch was originally defined as the length of 3 barleycorns. This was a practical but imprecise definition. The inch is now defined precisely in terms of the meter. A knot is a unit of speed equal to 1 nautical mile per hour. It is used in maritime and aviation contexts. The nautical mile is based on the circumference of the Earth. A calorie is the amount of heat needed to raise 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. It is a unit of energy. It is commonly used in nutrition to measure the energy content of food. A byte is a unit of digital information. It is typically made up of 8 bits. It is the fundamental unit of data storage in computing. A gallon is a unit of volume, but there are different gallons. The US gallon and the imperial gallon are different sizes. This is a quiet but persistent difference in measurement. A horsepower is a unit of power, originally defined by James Watt. It was based on the work a horse could do. It is now a standard unit for measuring engine output. A carat is a unit of weight for gemstones, equal to 200 milligrams. This is a very specific and small weight. It is used in the jewelry industry. A lumen is a unit of luminous flux, measuring the total amount of visible light emitted. It is a scientific unit for light output. It is used to compare the brightness of light sources. A mole is a unit of measurement for the amount of a substance. It is a specific number of particles, Avogadro's number. It is a fundamental unit in chemistry. A hertz is a unit of frequency, equal to 1 cycle per second. It is used to measure things like radio waves and sound. It is a common and essential unit in physics. A decibel is a unit used to measure the intensity of sound. It is a logarithmic scale. It measures the relative loudness of a sound. A parsec is a unit of distance used in astronomy, equal to about 3.26 light-years. It is based on the parallax of a star. It is a very large unit for measuring cosmic distances. A gram is a unit of mass in the metric system. It is defined as 1,000th of a kilogram. It is a common unit for small weights. A liter is a unit of volume in the metric system. It is defined as the volume of 1 cubic decimeter. It is a common unit for liquids. A newton is a unit of force in the metric system. It is defined as the force needed to accelerate 1 kilogram at 1 meter per second squared. It is a fundamental unit in physics. A joule is a unit of energy in the metric system. It is defined as the work done when a force of 1 newton moves an object 1 meter. It is a standard unit in physics. A watt is a unit of power in the metric system. It is defined as 1 joule per second. It is a common unit for measuring electrical power. A degree Celsius is a unit of temperature in the metric system. It is based on the freezing and boiling points of water. It is a common unit for everyday temperature. A degree Fahrenheit is a unit of temperature in the imperial system. It is based on a scale developed by Daniel Fahrenheit. It is used primarily in the United States. If you're still here, that is fine. If you have drifted off, that is the point. Here is one more small, quiet fact to rest on. The space between your breaths is the same composition as the air around you, just warmer and quieter. Good night, and let the noise fade away.